All right, so today I'm here with Sam Carchidi and Wayne Fish. I'm going to be asking them a couple questions. First, I'm going to talk about their book, the Big 5-0, about the Philadelphia Flyers, the men and moments that made the Flyers. And then I'm going to be just asking a couple questions about the team as of now. So, when did you, Sam, when did you and Wayne decide to write the book, and who approached who about writing together?
Yeah, I guess it was about a year ago. Triumph Books out of Chicago, they're the publishers, and I'd done a few books with them earlier, and they approached me, and I really didn't have the time to get into it, because the season was still going on, and there's nobody better than Wayne. Wayne's been covering the team for 44 years for the Bucks County Courier, so we agreed to collaborate, and yeah, we have 50 chapters, and it's not just the 50 best players on the Flyers. It's 50 moments, 50 different events, or something quirky. It's some people think it's like a countdown to who's the top player. It's not like that at all. So it's just 50, like I said, great moments, players, offbeat stuff. So we had a real good time doing it.
Yeah, and I was excited when Sam came to me and proposed that we do this together, and because we work together almost every day, and covering the Flyers is something that we really enjoy, and so the chance to go back and do the research and find out things, as I mentioned earlier today, that it's fun to find out things that you didn't know, and then it's also fun to pass those things along to the readers, and with the hope that they're going to find out something that they didn't know. And when I read books, that's what I do. I'm looking for a book that's going to tell me something that I don't know, and in this case, and Sam is great at this too, of uncovering these facts that maybe you don't find necessarily when you go the Google route, but when you talk to people live, interviews with some of these guys, new players, old players, whatever, that's what makes it interesting.
How long did it take you guys to write the book?
I'd say probably about 6 to 8 months, something like that, and yeah, it would, sometimes you weren't working on it. It's hard to quantify, because sometimes you might spend 10 hours a day doing it. Sometimes you're busy writing for your newspaper or websites. You may only spend 3 or 4 hours on a book, so it's hard to really quantify. But if I had to guess, I would say 6 to 8 months, something like that. And in addition to 50 chapters, we also have like 50 sidebars, offbeat stuff. It could be something on Gritty. It could be something on Lauren Hart singing goodbye to Ed Snyder. She did that actually live. She FaceTimed him before a big game, and she knew that unfortunately the end was near. So it's really 100 different chapters, I guess, even though it says the Big 5-0, and like Wayne said, it was just a fun project to do.
The writing period that we had to get to the deadline, some of it was during the summertime, and that's where it's difficult or it's complicated to try to do live interviews, especially if the players like Bob Clark's in Florida, or someone's out in California. You have to wait till training camp. And so I did that. I kind of cheated a little bit and waited, and then that compresses the timeline. Suddenly it's November and you're going like, I've got to get these done. So that was the one challenging part for me, was I don't like to do interviews over the phone for these kinds of projects. I like to do them live, face to face. And so it was a challenge, but at the same time, it's fun. You have that pressure of the deadline. We're in this every day. We're faced deadline pressure. So when you have just one deadline to make, it's not as difficult as that day-to-day situation.
And we should also say it's not just about like the old-time Flyers, the Clarks and the McLeishes. We have chapters on Travis Konechny and Ivan Provorov and Carter Hart, and a lot of the guys who are the heart of the team right now, Claude Giroux and on and on. So it's we do start at the beginning, but we're right up to Carter Hart where they are right now.
Did you and Wayne both decide which stories to put in the book?
I kind of made an outline, I guess. That was, and then asked Wayne to go over it and tweak it, and we had a general idea. And the good thing was it was really difficult to narrow it down to 50. But like I said, we had these 50 sidebars. So, their history, there's so much history in this franchise. It would have been really hard to only have 50 stories. So it was good we had the 50 sidebars, because that gave us, if we felt something didn't deserve a full chapter, we were able at least to give it some due anyway. And I don't know how you felt about that, but
yeah, it was better that he do the outline, because he comes from a place now where he's been covering this last decade or so, and so he's more, that's his area of firsthand knowledge. But at the same time, he's been following the Flyers since he was a kid. So, and he was a fan. So he had a great interest. You'd be amazed at how much information he knows. I'm asking him stuff from those years. Yeah. And so he was better at the idea of, okay, you take this, but he also did some of the older stuff, and I did some of the younger stuff, like Sean Couturier, and I forget which ones, Spectrum or something like that. Chapters we went back and forth, and I think at the end of the day, it was good. We seemed to know where our strengths were.
Sam, you wrote a book with Flyers announcer Lou Nolan, If These Walls Could Talk. Was writing this book different, as Lou isn't known for being a writer, as opposed to Wayne?
Yeah, it was different in that book, I kind of, for those that don't know Lou Nolan, Lou is very outspoken, and you kind of just turn the recorder on and he goes. Mm-hmm. And we wanted to make that book like good conversation. We wanted you to feel you were just listening to Lou, sitting there with Lou on a deck with a cold drink, and he's just, reminiscing about different facets of the Flyers. Lou has literally been there since the Flyers started in 1967. He wasn't their PA announcer at that time. He was working in the public relations department, and about 4 or 5 years later became their public address announcer. So he has seen everything. He's the last person left who started with the Flyers and is still there. So that was a little different in that it was more of a conversation and Lou's thoughts on different things through the years, whereas this was a lot of interviews. We did a lot of interviews with current players, ex-players, front office people, coaches. We did some of that I did some of that with Lou, but a lot of that were just Lou's observations, because Lou has seen it all.
Where can people find the book?
You can find it Barnes & Noble or Amazon.com or Triumph.com. Just Google, I guess, the Big 5-0, and it'll come up, and hopefully people will enjoy it.
All right, so now I'm going to be asking a couple questions about the Flyers team as of right now. So, what do you think will happen with the line since the connecting injury? Who steps up?
Well, I think James Van Riemsdyk is one of the candidates to step up. He's off to a slow start in the first 30 games, and it's a good chance he'll move up in the lineup now, and they really need him to start producing. We don't know right now how long connecting will be out, but I'm assuming it'll be at least 10 days, maybe longer, who knows, but with a concussion. But they need some of the young guys too. Morgan Frost got off to a good start, goals in his first 2 games, hasn't scored a goal since then. They need him to step up. But I think they're the 2 candidates right now that they need to pick up some of the slack, because as you know, connecting was Flyers' leading scorer at the time.
I think JVR is a chance for him to connect with the coach. Right now, there's a little bit of a disconnect. And I think that if he gets a goal or 2, it's going to start to set things right. And I think that putting him in connecting spot in some fashion, either on that line at even strength or power play positioning or whatever it might be, that if he can get something going here, he's really the last guy, I think, that has not connected on some kind of wavelength with the coach. And I think this is an opportunity for that.
Are there any updates on Phil Myers, and do you think he's going to play any of the games on the road trip?
He's had some back spasms, and he left practice today. We're talking right now on Monday. He's very doubtful for Wednesday. Vigneault today said he probably would make the trip, and he didn't rule him out for the games later in the trip, but he made it sound like Robert Haig will be in the lineup Wednesday, and I think there's a possibility that he comes back over the weekend, either in Minnesota or Winnipeg, but it's too hard to predict right now because, like I said, he's been having intermittent back spasms. So he's been terrific. He leads the Flyers with I think plus 14 right now. He actually leads all NHL rookies with a plus 14, and he's been a real pleasant surprise. So but you don't want to rush him back, obviously, with a back. the back injury.
Yeah, you don't want it to be chronic. I've had that myself. And speaking for all people 6'4" and over, on this planet, that's always an issue as far as playing sports. That the taller guys are always susceptible to that kind of thing. So I think that the fact that Robert, he's trying to find ways to get Robert enough action. In other words, not keep him on the bench for 5 and 10 games at a stretch. This might be an opportunity for him to come back in and at least stay active and feel like he's part of it.
How do you think the team will do in the next 3 games against Colorado, Minnesota, and Winnipeg?
Yeah, I think if they come out with 3 points, they'll probably be happy because Colorado is going to be a tough game. Colorado is among the league leaders in goals scored and goals against, and McKinnon is always an MVP candidate, and Landeskog, and they're getting great defense. They've only given up, I think, 10 goals over the last 6 games, so that'll be a tough one. If you get a point there, I think you're happy. I think the other 2 games are winnable, but like I said, if they come back with 3 points, I think without Konechny, I think that they'll be satisfied. Of course, they want more, but those 3 teams are 3 of the hottest teams right now in the Western Conference.
There's always that altitude situation in Colorado. You're a mile high. I went to school there, and it takes you a week to get ready, or 2 weeks to get ready, to get acclimated to that altitude. Here, you got about 20 hours, so it makes it interesting. It's definitely a home ice advantage for the team. But the Flyers are playing well right now. I think it's going to be a competitive game. The other 2 games, again, back-to-back. They're coming off first sweep of the year, correct? First time they've swept the back-to-back this year. And I think that it's always challenging when you have to get on a plane and go from one place to another in a short amount of time. So I think that back end will be difficult too.
All right, guys, so that's it for this one. A great stocking stuffer here. The men and moments that made the Philadelphia Flyers the Big 5-0. I want to thank Sam, Wayne, thank you for doing this. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I'll see you guys in the next one, and goodbye.